What if the reason you've always felt slightly out of place wasn't a flaw? What if it was actually the rarest personality type on Earth, and almost no one around you has the capacity to fully understand it? Psychologists estimate that only 1 to 3% of the entire world's population shares your wiring. That means for every 100 people in a room, you might be the only one. And yet, most people with this personality spend their whole lives wondering why they feel so deeply different from everyone else. Today, we're going through 6 specific signs that you carry one of the rarest personality types that exists, the INFJ. These aren't vague traits. These are the exact patterns that show up in your everyday life, that you've probably tried to explain to people who just didn't get it. Stay until sign number 4, because that one tends to be the one that makes people stop and say, "I've never heard anyone describe that feeling out loud before." Sign 1, you absorb other people's emotions like a sponge, even when you don't want to. If you walk into a room and immediately sense the tension before a single word is spoken, you're experiencing something most people are completely blind to. Think about the last time someone close to you was upset, but insisted they were fine. You felt it in your chest before they said a word, and you probably couldn't explain how. Psychologists call this emotional attunement, an almost involuntary ability to read emotional undercurrents in a room. INFJs experience this at an unusually high level. It's not intuition in the vague sense. It's a highly calibrated internal system that picks up on micro-expressions, tone shifts, and energy changes that most people's brains filter out entirely. The hard part? You can't turn it off. And for years, you may have believed you were simply too sensitive, when really you were just wired to feel more. Sign 2, you have a clear, unshakable vision of how things should be, and it frustrates you that others can't see it. You don't just live in the present moment. You live several steps ahead of it. You've probably been in a meeting, a conversation, a relationship, and seen exactly where things were heading before anyone else. You may have said something, been dismissed, and then watched it unfold exactly the way you said it would. Quietly, without saying, "I told you so," because that was never the point. INFJs are dominant intuitive thinkers, meaning they process the world through patterns, not facts. Your brain is constantly synthesizing subtle information into big-picture conclusions. Carl Jung described this type as having a kind of future-oriented intelligence, not prediction, but deep pattern recognition that most people experience as a gut feeling. For you, it's more like a quiet certainty. And when no one else can see what you see, that isolation runs deep. Because it's not arrogance. You're not trying to be right, you just know. And knowing alone is one of the loneliest feelings in the world. Sign 3, you are deeply private, even with people you love. You're not cold, you're not distant, but there is a vault inside you that almost no one ever gets full access to. You might spend hours listening to a friend's problems, every detail, every feeling, and then when they ask about you, something closes. You give them the outline, not the full picture, not even close. This is one of the most misunderstood INFJ traits. Because from the outside, you appear open, warm, interested, engaged. And you are. But INFJs have a layered inner world that they share selectively, and often only in writing, not in real-time conversation. The reason is psychological. INFJs process their deepest feelings internally first. Sharing them before they've been fully processed feels like an exposure they're not ready for. The painful irony. You understand other people at a profound depth, and yet you often feel fundamentally unknown by the people closest to you. Sign 4, you can sense someone's true intentions beneath what they're saying. And sometimes you wish you couldn't. You don't just hear what people say. You hear what they mean. And sometimes those two things are completely different. Someone gives you a compliment with a smile, and something in you registers it as hollow. Someone tells you they're happy for you, and your body reacts like it heard the opposite. You can't always explain it, but you're rarely wrong. This is the INFJ's so-called third eye, a convergence of their emotional attunement and pattern recognition. Research in social cognition shows that some individuals process nonverbal cues, microexpressions, vocal pitch, timing of responses, at a significantly faster unconscious rate than average. For INFJs, This creates a near-constant stream of insight into the people around them that arrives faster than logic can explain it. The weight of this is real. Because when you see through someone and you still care about them, you have to decide what to do with what you know. That choice is a burden no one else in the room is carrying. Sign 5, you give everything in your relationships and then disappear completely to recover. You love deeply, you show up completely, and then, without warning, you need to vanish. It's not that you don't care. It's that you've given so much of yourself, your attention, your empathy, your emotional energy, that your system hits a wall. And when it does, the only thing that works is solitude, not distraction. Solitude. INFJs are introverts who often function in the world like extroverts. They can be warm, engaging, and deeply present with others for extended periods. But this operates on a reserve that drains faster than most. Psychologists describe this as high empathic expenditure, the emotional cost of deep attunement. When that reserve empties, the INFJ doesn't just need rest. They need silence, space, and time to reconnect with their own internal world before they can return. And the people who love you sometimes experience this as rejection. They can't see that your disappearance isn't about them, it's how you survive. It's how you come back whole. Sign 6, you have a moral code so deeply embedded it feels like bone. And you cannot betray it. There are certain things you simply will not do. Not because of rules, not because of fear, because to do them would feel like a violation of something fundamental to who you are. You've probably lost friendships over this, said no to things that would have benefited you greatly, simply because they crossed a line only you could feel. Watched people call you stubborn, idealistic, difficult, and still you held. The INFJ's ethical core is not a set of opinions. It is an identity structure. Research on value-based decision-making suggests that individuals with high moral identity salience experience ethical violations as a threat to the self, not just a wrong choice. For INFJs, this is amplified by their intuitive awareness of systemic harm. They don't just see what is wrong in front of them. They see why it matters in the larger picture. Other people might call this rigidity. You know it's something else entirely. It's the only kind of integrity that costs something and keeps costing, even when no one is watching. If you recognized yourself in these signs, I want you to sit with that for a moment. Not as a label, not as a box to climb into, but as confirmation that the way you move through the world, the depth you feel, the things you notice, the weight you carry, that isn't a flaw in your design. It is your design. The INFJ doesn't need to be fixed. They need to be understood. And usually, that journey starts with understanding themselves. If this felt like something you needed to hear today, share it with someone who might need it too. The right person will know exactly what it means. And if you want more of this, the psychology behind who you are and how you work, subscribe. Because this is exactly what we're here for.